All right, my next guest beat Jay Perrin via unanimous decision at UFC Vegas 48. And of course, it is Mario Bautista on the show. Mario, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Feeling pretty good to get back in the win column. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And Jay Perrin, what a tough guy. He's coming in on short notice, obviously, as a new opponent for you. How much did that mess with you to have someone new to get in there with when you were preparing for someone else?
Not too much. We were a little worried when they were trying to find someone. But once I found Jay, we looked him up, and honestly, it would have been a very similar game plan to Khalid Taha. So we didn't have to change too much, and that was the good thing about it.
Was there anything that he did or didn't do in there that surprised you? And I mean, you look pretty dominant throughout the fight, but any surprises for you?
No, nothing really surprising. You know, I don't want to say I thought it was going to be a tougher fight, but just the things he was saying, he was going to take me into deep water, that I was going to, that he was going to be my toughest fight, this and that, and that's the way he wins his fights. He's a grinder. So for me to beat him like that, it was a pretty good feather in my cap, actually.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I've seen him fight regionally, really, really tough guy. You said that you expected maybe, based on his comments, maybe a little bit harder of a fight. When did you know that you really had a control over this fight and this was your fight to lose?
I would say in the middle of second round, I believe. Once I started pushing him against the cage and he just wasn't circling off. I mean, that's like a big thing. As soon as he pushed me against the cage, I circled off. Like, you don't want to waste any time there. If you're wasting time there, you're losing the fight. And so that's what he wanted to do. And so around mid-second, that's when I knew I would be able to take over for the rest of the fight.
Overall, are you pleased with your performance, or are you disappointed that you didn't get the finish?
Oh no, I'm super happy with it. I got to show, everything, all aspects of mixed martial arts. Stand up, takedown defense, clinch work, takedown of my own. So I got to show a lot of things within the 15 minutes that I had.
Yeah, and it's been quite a while since we've seen you inside of the octagon. It's been almost a year since your last fight. Where do you feel like you've grown the most since we've seen you compete last and that loss to Trevin Jones?
I would say everywhere. And when I say that, I mean like putting it all together. Not being, not having second thoughts on like, oh, should I take this guy down and work, something on the ground, or should I keep it standing? This fight, I tried not to have any of that, and wherever I felt the fight would go, I was prepared to do it and create damage wherever I went.
Now, I was looking at your overall record on Tapology before, we did this interview here, and I noticed that it was your 7th pro fight. You made your debut in the UFC. Is that crazy? Like to think that, man, you're already in the biggest promotion in the world, 7 fights into your career. I mean, not many people can say that.
Yeah, no, it was crazy around that time, and the opponent was freaking crazy. He'd go on to be a future title challenger. So yeah, I mean, and I was saying at the time, I was thinking like, am I ready? And when they called me, I had to say yes. Some people get called and they say no, and sometimes they never get called again. No matter what happens. So, but I'm in now, and my next fight, that'll be my 6th one. So I'll have 6 fights outside the UFC and 6 fights in. So I'm hoping to be have most of my fights in the UFC.
What have you learned from those losses? Obviously, Sandhagen and then Trevin Jones most recently. Like, what have you taken from those setbacks?
With the Sandhagen, there's a certain intensity that you got to have, and he was just on another level that night, and that's what I took away from the Sandhagen fight. And with the Trevin Jones fight, I got to do my research, even if it's short notice. I came into that fight, in good condition. I was ready to fight, but I just didn't watch too much video on him. I let that up. I left that to my coaches. So, and now, like when I found out I was fighting Jay Perrin, I did, a full day of research on him just to, learn as much as I could. So that's what I took from that fight.
What is that cut like for you to 135? Is it pretty easy?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's pretty easy. It's just the last, I'd say like the last 3 pounds, which isn't too bad. it gets a little tough. But I usually kind of wait till a weigh-in day to cut it, so I'm not suffering, a whole day. But each time, each camp, I'm fine tuning it, so each time it gets easier and easier, and I could be a little bit bigger ahead of camp and even after weigh-ins.
What do you typically walk around at? Like, what's the heaviest you get?
The heaviest, today I 156, and I think I'm still like average for bantamweight, because you see guys like Cody Stamann, his got disclosed. He went back to 160. There's Manny Bermudez. I think he's cut from the UFC now, but he got to 165, and he was weighing more than the 45 pounders. And then you see guys as low as Saeed Nurmagomedov, who fought Cody. He weighed at 148. So fight night. So we all range, from high to low, and I believe I'm pretty average, I think.
Would you ever consider another weight class, or has that never even crossed your mind?
Oh, I haven't even thought about that. I think if, I got older and I'm just tired of cutting weight, then maybe 45. But I think once you start making those kind of decisions of changing weight, something's going wrong in your own weight class, and you're looking for a little bit of changes. And right now I'm doing good. I feel good. So not thinking about it.
When you look at the bantamweight division, like, where do you feel you are right now? Obviously, any fighter that I interview, if they're not in the top 15 in the top 10, that's their initial goal, and then climbing towards a title shot. Like, where do you feel like you're at in your career from, cracking that top 15?
I would say like a solid, it all depends on my performances, but I think like a good 3 fights and I think I'd be getting into that top 15. And who knows, like my next fight I could get like a first round knockout and get a top 15. You never know, but I would think a solid three fights could do.
Okay, I want to get a couple fight picks from you. UFC 273, you have the championship between Jan and Sterling. Who do you think is going to win that one?
I have Jan winning that fight. I think fighting him a second time, he's going to have it all figured out, and he kind of knows how Sterling. You kind of seen how he really is. The way he kind of took that. I think it was like kind of a dive. So you kind of get like a feel of his personality and how he is. So I think Jan's going to be in his head, and I would say like a 4th round finish. Jan is tough 4th and 5th round, and I see him getting the finish in that. All
right. And then before that, UFC 273, we obviously have UFC 272, which is next weekend. And that's headlined by Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. I am so pumped for this fight, man. I can't wait for it. Tell me how this shakes out. Who do you see winning and how?
You know what? My heart says Masvidal, but I'm gonna say Colby. I think it's gonna go all 5 rounds. I think they know each other too well, and I don't think anyone's gonna want to make a mistake, especially in that type of fight. Whoever wins definitely gonna have bragging rights. So I'm gonna have to say Colby decision.
Okay, very good. And I know you talked to my colleague James Lynch, and you said Ronnie Lawrence is someone that you want to fight next. But if that doesn't happen, is there any other names, like anyone that stands out that you feel like would make sense for you?
I haven't really thought about too many people. It's just like the style of fighters I like. So like Ronnie Lawrence, I love his style. Like he just pushes it, he grinds it. And, I want to fight. There's big names out there, like Nurmagomedov is out there. Nate Maness is out there, and Jack Shore, those type of guys. Those are the names I want. Maybe, hopefully this year or by the end of the year.
Yeah, time frame. You said this year by the end of the year, but do you think maybe we could see you summertime next, or maybe you want a full camp, maybe a little bit longer?
Oh, I'm definitely going to have full camps, starting off, because I just haven't had too good of luck with my short notice fights in the UFC. But definitely want to fight 3 times this year. So, fought early February, summertime, and then again, maybe in winter, 3 or 4. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, again, congrats on the win. Very impressive win over a tough opponent in Jay Perrin. Mario, I appreciate the time. Before I let you go, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media. And if you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Mario Bautista MMA, and you'll find all my links there. And I just want to give a shout out to the MMA Lab and Iridium Sports Agency for getting this done.